Pagan past and current celebrations. It may seem as if the ancient religions of old are dead today in this modern world. This is not true. There are celebrations yearly that are held and celebrated by a majority of the world that keep these ancient practices alive. The ancient religions have adapted to fit into the mindset, thoughts, and emotions of modern people. It may surprise many to know that the holidays we all know and love have roots in paganism, Celtic traditions, and many other old religious rituals. Holiday itself is a perversion of the expression holy days. The religious remains in our modern celebrations originate from various aspects of worship in regards to nature, fertility, along with ancient gods and goddesses. Now, the Celtic calendar has a major influence on many of our holidays. Another note to make is that there are three kinds of holidays: fixed, movable, and natural. Fixed holidays are held on the same date each year and contain most of the sacred days of the pagan and Christian religions. Movable holidays vary each year when they are celebrated and are observed today in various pagan traditions and by the Church. There is also the natural year holidays, which are measured by the equinoxes and solstices of the sun's year and the 4 cross-quarter days that come between them. This would be like the Celtic calendar. All will become apparent as the holidays are revealed. The inner workings of these festivities might astound many who have limited knowledge of their true origins. The beginning of the year, New Year's, is a good place to start. It is a fixed holiday, and at this time it's common to come up with goals for the upcoming year. This is not far off, considering in ancient Rome, Janus, the god of new beginnings, was celebrated. It was also seen as a time of danger where past and future meet, which is why we must evaluate ourselves to realize our own vulnerability, and with the help of Janus, the door to the future lies open. In Babylon, the new beginning is the resurrection of their god Marduk, similar to the Roman Jupiter. Egyptians watched the stars for the sign that Isis, sky goddess of love, would return to bring the land alive as she had done for her husband/brother, Osiris, as legend tells it. Their tradition of making noise and toasting goes back to Greece and Roman times. Ring out the old, ring in the new, ring out the false, ring in the true. The day was sacred to the ruling pair of gods. In Greece, this was Zeus and Hera, and in Rome, this was Jupiter and Juno. Offerings would also be presented to the goddess Fortuna in order that the new year should be beneficial to all. So the noise and search for betterment is not something new, after all. One of the natural holidays, Groundhog's Day, is present on the Celtic calendar. It falls in the Celtic celebration of Imbolc and the Christian Candlemas. It is a turning point between winter and spring, and therefore is known as a time of renewal. The death of winter breaks into growth, and historically, fire was doused and rekindled as a sign of this rebirth. This also ties into the celebration also held on this day, with the virgin goddess Bride or Bridget, who would show her powers of healing, firecraft, and poetry. Similarly, in the Saxon North pagan divinities, the name Brigit, who is the spring-loving consort of Ulri, who is the god of winter. Now, at Imbolc, the threefold goddess is transformed from her winter aspect as aged hay, veiled in black, into the radiant virgin bride, springing from seeming death into life. The Christian influence resulted in the assimilation of the virgin persona, but was changed to become the Feast of the Purification of the Virgin, otherwise known as Candlemas, with the lighting of the candles for purification. The festival of Juno falls into the same pattern as the Christian version. Considering that this is the changing of the seasons, it is said that the weather can be predicted on this day for the upcoming months. Nowadays we use our groundhogs. Back then they had a rhyme to tell the tale. If Candlemas Day be fair and bright, winter will have another flight. If on Candlemas Day be shower and rain, winter is gone and will not come again. Groundhog's Day is a sign of the coming spring that we still pay attention to in this modern era. Valentine's Day has become increasingly commercialized, but at its heart is the celebration of lovers. This goes back to the ancient Roman festivities of Lupercalia and Juno. Lupercus, or Faunus, was the god of fertility, and Juno was the queen of the Roman gods, while also being the goddess of women and marriage. Now, there's an ancient history of picking mates in both the human and animal world. At this time, a lottery would be held in conjunction with this festival of Lupercalia, where the young women would put in their name in to be drawn by the eligible bachelors. The man would attach his chosen maiden's name on his sleeve. This custom of drawing names gave rise to the expression, wearing your heart on your sleeve. Also at this time, when the swallows would return to the land, it was seen as a harbinger of the coming spring and sexual union. Centuries later, one Geoffrey Chaucer said of the birds, "For this was sent Valentine's Day, every fowl come to choose his mate." Following in suit, Robert Herrick says, "Oft I've heard both youths and virgins say, birds choose their mates and couple too this day, but by their flight I never can divine when I shall couple with my Valentine." Pairing up is a natural part of Valentine's Day, in the past and still is today. There are many symbols within the context of Valentine's Day which allude to a time past. The rose, for instance, is given to many as a sign of love. Venus, the Roman goddess of love, had the rose as her sacred symbol. It was also once believed that the heart was the center of all emotions, which coincides with what is still thought and believed today. The adorable Cupid is actually the son of the goddess of love Aphrodite and the god of war Ares of Greek mythology, and Venus and Mars of Roman mythology. Considering this union, it makes sense that love is spread by arrows. The name Cupid is actually the Roman equivalent, and therefore the son of Venus. Here he is a symbol of passionate love. The Church adapted the day to represent one Saint Valentine, who defied the law to wed young couples. Hence we have our cards, "From your Valentine." The past lives on in our very own symbols today. Easter is thought to be one of the most Christian holidays. It falls around the spring equinox, and it celebrates the death and rebirth of Jesus Christ. This story of resurrection may not be as original as it is thought to be. In religions of the world it is quoted that mystery cults began to form in Rome, associated with the Sibyl cult, with that of her lover, Attis, the older Tammuz, Osiris, or Dionysus, under a new name. He was a god of ever-reviving vegetation. This will sound very familiar as the story continues. These gods were born of a virgin. He died and was reborn annually. The festival begins as a day of blood on Black Friday, and it concludes after 3 days in a moment of rejoicing over the resurrection. This accordingly led to disputes as to who is the true god and which the imitation. Plus, we have Krishna, who is part of the Hindu Trinity, having parallels to the Christ story as well. The name Easter itself has origins in the name of ancient goddesses. There is the Scandinavian Ostra and the Greek Ostri, goddesses of spring. With the coming of spring, the land is renewed and becomes fertile once more. This is why many of the symbols of Easter have to do with fertility and rebirth. The rabbit and chick represent these two aspects. The Easter egg has various reasons why they are around today. The Romans would run races on an oval track and give eggs as prizes. To celebrate the Easter season, pagans were the first to begin coloring the eggs as to resemble the returning sunlight as well as the northern lights in the sky. It used to be common knowledge that all elemental metals are oval-shaped. For instance, the raindrop and seeds fit this mode. So the Easter egg to ancients was a tribute to life's outgrowth. It used to be held on the spring equinox, which would be one of the 8 Sabbaths, holy days, of pagans. Modern-day neo-pagans and Wiccans celebrate the equinox around Easter with rituals related primarily to fertility. The earth becomes green once again, and with rebirth, growth, and fertility, all are celebrated in the Easter season festivities. April Fool's Day makes much more sense when we look at the historical context. This used to be the pagan New Year, held on one of their many solstices. And considering they continue to celebrate it, although the date of the beginning of the year had been changed, this led to them being labeled April Fools. This day also used to be the Roman Women's Festival in honor of Fortuna Virilis, in which good relationships with men were sought and ruled over by Venus. Now, it is socially permissible to make fools of people on this day. This kind of behavior is presided over by the Norse trickster god Loki, and what used to be the classic Festival of Fools. So, do you celebrate the old Celtic New Year, or just like making those you know look ridiculous? Although May Day is not nearly as celebrated in this day and age as in the past, it is worth mentioning that it is one of the cross-quarter days of the Celtic calendar, and is known as Bellentine. It is a fixed holiday and is the midpoint between the vernal equinox and the summer solstice. The solar deity, Balor, Bel, Fulanos, or Beldur, and so forth, is the ruler of this celebration. That is why fires are rekindled and bonfires set on this day. The flames purify and help bring prosperity. These acts would possibly have been a part of the rituals associated with spring, but the Druids' custom of worshipping trees may have led to the Maypole.